Did you ever go to bed at night and think, man, that was such a stressful day, but somehow I feel like I didn't get anything done? I get that feeling all the time. And for a while I thought this is just what working a lot feels like. But at some point I realized I didn't really get more work done than others who worked half the time. So in fact I worked more but still had worse results. This was especially apparent during law school when I sometimes had to work 3 times as much than my friends and would still get worse grades. As you can imagine, this was incredibly frustrating, draining and exhausting. And so I realized there has to be a better way. One important way to get more done and to be more productive is to have a well-structured day. Instead of just jumping into whatever task comes to mind first, having a clear idea of what you're going to work on during what time in the day is definitely a game changer. So in this video, I'll share 9 better ways how to structure a day for maximum productivity. And make sure to stick around till the end because I'll also share 2 worksheets with you that will help you be even more efficient and stay on track ASAP. Let's get started. Number 1, plan the night before. Now, planning your day the night before has definitely been one of the key steps in improving my productivity. It's such a simple thing to do, but it takes a whole lot of stress and overwhelm out of your mornings. And mornings are often our most productive time of the day, so it really makes sense to be able to start working in an efficient and focused way straight away. The best way to go about this is to really get as much as possible done the night before. For instance, I think about what clothes I want to wear the next day and I also prepare them so that they're right in the bathroom first thing in the morning. I also prepare my lunch, sometimes I prepare part of my breakfast as well. And of course, I look at my calendar and look for any unusual thing going on, such as a doctor's appointment, and then I look at all the things I have to get done and I put them on my to-do list for the next day. Number 2, use calendar blocking. Now, in order to get all your to-do straight and to know what you have to get done the next day, the night before, you need to have a system for your calendar. So what I would recommend is that you use calendar blocking, which is a really simple system where you just block off certain times during the day for specific tasks. So what I like to do is I color code the blocks, so I have certain blocks for work or things I have to get done for my business. Then I have other blocks for leisure activities or for social activities, seeing friends, things like that. And then I also have another color, a different block for doctor's appointments or unusual things that really have to, so it's red and it really has to catch my eye because it's something unusual and it's important that I don't oversee it and forget about it. Most of the blocks are weekly recurring, so I just add them in once and mostly it's just a title, for instance, work. And then I can add the specific to-dos, the specific tasks whenever I know I have to get them done. For instance, at the beginning of the week when I plan my week, and then I'll put them into the blog so that I have a clear overview of everything that's going on. Number 3, have at least 2 high focus blocks. So I guess you've already noticed that you have certain times during the day where your focus is amazing and you're super awake, and then you have other times where you feel a bit tired and it's really difficult to get that focus up and to concentrate. So in order to boost your productivity, I highly recommend to only use the high focus times. So figure out when it's easiest for you to concentrate and to really get work done, and only use those times to work on your business or work in your job, and then use the other times for chores or leisure things or just things that don't require your full mental capacity. You can experiment a bit with those blocks. So for some people it works better to have a bunch of smaller blocks, so for instance 5 1-hour blocks. What I really like to do is to have 2 bigger blocks, so one is in the morning and one is towards the later afternoon or the evening, and then the earlier afternoon is my time off because that's my low focus time. And so the time in the morning is usually from about 9 to 2:30, and I do take breaks in between, so I use the Pomodoro Technique. I'll get to that in a minute. And I'll also take snack breaks and things like that, but it's generally the time that I work, and then afterwards I take a longer break, and then I have a second block in the evening, which is usually from about 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. where again, I'll get work done and get as little interruption as possible. Number 4. Use the Pomodoro Technique. I've just mentioned it and I'm really a huge fan of the Pomodoro Technique. And if you struggle to focus and to be productive, you absolutely need to try it. It's a very simple concept that simply means you work for 25 minutes without interruption and then take a 5-minute break. I'll link an article down below that explains how the Pomodoro Technique works and how you can use it in more detail. In order to achieve maximum productivity, I highly recommend to estimate how many Pomodoros you'll need to get a task done. So when you do your to-do list the night before, when you write those tasks down, put the amount of Pomodoros you'll need to finish that task next to it. And the easiest way to do that is by downloading my free Pomodoro worksheet. I'll link it in the description below, where you have specific columns for each of those things. And then you get to tick off each Pomodoro once you're done, and then tick off the whole task once you're done with it. So that gives you a good overview of how much there is to do and if it's realistic to really get all those tasks done. Because what I used to struggle with, I'm a bit of a recovering workaholic, as I've mentioned before. I used to work really long hours, but very inefficiently. And one of the reasons was that I wasn't really able to estimate how much is realistic to get done in a day. And writing down how many Pomodoros you'll need for a task will greatly help you with that, because studies have shown that you usually only have about 4 to 6 hours, I would say maximum 7, that you'll really be able to get focused work done. So more than 14 Pomodoros isn't really realistic to get done in a day. After using the Pomodoro Technique for a while, I've noticed that 25 minutes is sometimes a bit too short for me, so I often need 2 Pomodoros to get a task done. So what I found more useful is to actually work 50 minutes straight away and then take a bit of a longer break after that. But if you're just starting out and if you really struggle to focus for a long period of time, absolutely start with those 25 minutes, because this is a great amount of time that is just short enough to not overwhelm you. Because if you just look at a full 8-hour workday, that's pretty overwhelming, but 25 minutes is totally doable. And it's also a good amount of time that will allow you to stay focused, and then you have the relief of a little break and then jump back in. So experiment a little with the amount of time that you can really stay focused and when you'll need a break. Number 5 is to batch your work. You've probably heard me talking about batching before, and that's because I'm really a huge fan of this concept. Again, a very simple technique or simple concept, but with a very high reward in time management or time saving. So what batching means is that you take a bunch of similar tasks together and then only work on them during a specific amount of time. So the example that I've given before is filming my videos. So I do all sorts of video content on Monday. So the main reason for that is because I only want to put on my makeup and do my hair once per week. But the other reason for that is that it allows me to stay in the same kind of mental zone, which is much more efficient than switching from one task to the next, which requires a totally different kind of thinking or focus. And doing similar tasks, batching them together, really allows you to get much more done in a much quicker time. Number 6 is to schedule regular breaks. If you use the Pomodoro Technique, you'll naturally do that in between the 25-minute work chunks, but these are only short breaks and you also need longer breaks from time to time. So what's usually recommended is to take a longer break after about 4 Pomodoros. That can be 15 or 30 minutes, something like that. And then after probably 2 batches of 4 Pomodoros, you'll need a much longer break. So this is what I usually do. I would say I usually do 4 to about 8 Pomodoros in the morning. And then I have the longer break in the afternoon, which is my low focus time, where I take a walk with my dog, where I do groceries. Sometimes I meet a friend for coffee, or I do chores, or anything else that's either leisure or that has to get done but isn't work. In order to boost your productivity, you need time to refill your batteries. So if you hate doing chores, that's not a good idea to do during a break. For me, it's something that I kind of enjoy if it's not for too long, to have a bit of a pattern interrupt of all that focus work, and have a bit of time where I can, for instance, listen to a podcast and just do some quick stuff around the house. Other than that, I really enjoy my walks. And so that's really important to me and something where I really can refill my batteries. So make sure you find something for yourself that is more in the self-care realm that you really enjoy and makes you feel really good, so that you have some more energy to get to the second high focus period. Number 7 is to only check emails at preset times during the day. In my last video, I talked about how I got from over 6,000 emails to inbox 0 in 1.5 hours, and how you can do the same and keep it that way. I'll link the video on top of my head so you can check that out. So one thing I cover in this video is that you should schedule in specific times during the day where you'll check your emails. So ideally that's about 2 or 3 times 30 minutes per day, where you go through your emails, you dissect them and put them in the respective folders. And then you have other times where you actually work through those emails that need some further action, or you just assign them to a project or a client that they belong to. But in terms of really checking what's coming in and doing the replying stuff, the short replies, that should only happen during 2 or maximum 3 30-minute chunks during your day. Other than that, your email inbox should be closed. I know this can be difficult to get started with, but if you have 3 chunks every day where you go through your email, the sender will only have to wait for 2 or 3 hours max to get a reply. So that's still super fast. However, if you have your email program open at all times, you constantly have notifications, which is distraction, which will dilute your productivity because you're constantly going back and forth and you aren't really focused on one thing. So have it closed and only go to it during those preset times. Number 8, use artificial pressure. Another thing that I recommend for a well-structured day is to have leisure things, fun stuff planned in the evenings. So right after you're supposed to finish work, have something planned with other people or something that you really enjoy and that you can't just put off. I call this artificial pressure because it adds that pressure that you need to get done at that time. So if you're working a 9 to 5 and if you struggle to get off work on time, have something scheduled at 5:30 or at 6 so that you have enough time with the commute, but that will really push you to get your work done until 5 because you already made that commitment to your friend or your SO. Whenever you have a deadline, you miraculously get those things done, even if you have very little time. And this artificial pressure or just having fun stuff planned in the evening has the same effect. It will boost you to really focus on the most efficient and most effective parts, do those high priority stuff first, and you won't get hung up on the busy stuff like checking email or reading news or chatting with your colleagues. Make sure that this off time, this fun stuff is scheduled as a priority and really treat it that way. It should be a number 1 priority and there's nothing that should get in the way. So really think of it as this comes first and work comes second. So work has to go around those fun things, those leisure things, because only then it really has that effect to boost your productivity and to help you focus on what's really important. And number 9, leave the house at least once per day. Now this is especially important for all of us working from home now, or if you're an entrepreneur, you're used to that already. And this comes down again to that concept of refilling your batteries. It's impossible to be hyper-focused for 12 hours per day. It's literally impossible. If you're working 12 hours per day, chances are you're unfocused for at least 6 of them. If you don't believe me, track your time for a week or 2. I've done the same and it's incredible how little I actually work and how much I'm distracted or doing other things. So it's much better to, as I've mentioned before, have those high focus chunks and then leave the house in between, do something else, recharge your mind, get some fresh air, and just do something that doesn't require some high focus or high thinking. Also schedule this in, so use a block in your calendar so that you don't forget it or don't just overrun it with more work. Okay, so now you know exactly how to structure your day for maximum productivity. But all that productivity is virtually useless if you don't know where you're going. This is why I've put a free goal setting worksheet together that you can download in the description below. This worksheet will walk you through setting your goals that you'll actually achieve step by step. And don't forget to also get my Pomodoro worksheet to boost your productivity right away. If you like this video, hit the like button down below, share it with your friends, and be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!